Good day, good day, good day. Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 7 of Talent Novas from Hustle to Hired Modern Workforce Training. It's your girl, Kalila Ko Olokanola, and I'm excited to dive into week 7 to talk about workplace readiness. What are the strategies that you can put in place for your career success? Today's conversation is really your preparation before we get to the final week where we begin to recap. And not only do we look back, but we also look forward to help you with your next steps. And so, first things first, right? In anything that you do, the goal is that you start strong and that you succeed always. Whatever you put your hand to, whatever plow you're tilling, wherever you're working, whether it's on the front line or in the corner office, you start strong and you succeed always, right? And so, when we begin to understand workplace norms, we often have to adapt to culture without losing our identity. We like to call it authentically adaptive. It's where I stay true to who I am. And while I'm staying true to who I am, I respect the environment that I'm in. So I'm able to adjust and to pivot when I'm needed to in workplaces, not because I'm fitting a criteria, but because I'm filling a seat. And so when we look at these workplace dynamics and we understand this workplace culture and what it means to adapt and thrive, it's really crucial for effective integration and professional success. A lot of times when you are re-entering back into the community from serving time, and whether this is your first job or your fourth job, coming home, hinders your confidence sometimes, which is why this training was so important. Because while we can cultivate you and give you the skills that you need and the information that you need, one of our big goals is that your confidence is boosted to understand that you are an important asset to any workplace that you are invited to work in. And so when we go into these workplaces and we're thinking about adapting and thriving, we look to effectively integrate without standing out. I don't want to say setting apart, because your workflow should always set apart. So when you adapt, you really effectively integrate. You begin to look at the norms of what's happening on a day-to-day basis. You may pick up a couple of the lingo that's being used at the water cooler or in one of the boardrooms or even in one of the cubicles or in the Zoom room. And so when you effectively integrate, it really helps with your professional success. What that signals is that you're really a good team player. And so if we look at these two pillars here, these two pathways of understanding workplace norms and differences, we understand that not every workplace is the same, but every workplace has expectations. When we look back at some of the larger organizations like Google or Zappos or Netflix, they all have their own culture. Patagonia, which is really focused on environment. A lot of the people that work there are also focused on the environment, and what they do in the workplace can trickle off at home. And so, what are some of the norms? A norm is a shared unspoken rule or behavior that's just how things are done in a workplace. Take a moment. Do you identify something like that where you work? An example is everyone shows up 5 minutes early before meetings. You just know that's when you should be there. A difference is a variation in behavior, values, or communication, really based on culture, background, or personal style. So the way you dress may be different, but that's your personal style. Your cultural background may be different. And so there may be some times of the day where you have to separate yourself to do something else. And so those are differences, but those are personalized. An example is one team also values small talk, another jumps right into task. And that doesn't mean that one is right or one is wrong. It just means that we have a difference. But I want to tell you that your differences can make you dangerous, right? It sets you apart. It allows you to innovate and to create at a high level and in a way that other people may not expect. And so I want you to ask yourself, is having shared goals, having shared community, being able to culturally adapt, is this normal, right? Is community normal? And it is. A lot of workplaces thrive and survive when having an integrated team that understands that teamwork makes the dream work, that not just one of us can move this entire ship, but it takes an army of people working collectively to actually get things done. And so, is this normal collaboration in your workplace? Do you collaborate with other teams or across the departments? This is a question you have to ask yourself. I've learned that when you cross collaborate, you're able to effectively make change that's not silo, but that's touching more than one area. Another norm is your organization that you work in really corporate. You know, some organizations have more of a laid back culture. Others, it's button up. It's a suit jacket, right? Women are in skirts and in heels, and everything is tighter than it would be if you walk into a workplace where it's loungy and everybody's in flip-flops or sneakers and shorts, because that's just part of the culture. This is the culture I'm talking about. Is it a cool culture? You show up, you know that you have sunglasses, and it may not be really the way that you dress, but you begin to adapt, right? You pull back a little bit. I love a two-piece suit and some sneakers. I'm always in sneakers, but integrating into a workplace, I understand that there may be some times that I even have to adapt the way I dress and how I show up because it is the norm where I am working. In any job, you'll always come across unspoken rules, but the key is to observe, to ask questions and not be afraid to do that, and to really stay open. Differences are wrong. I said that two slides back. They just need to fit within the team's culture. And a lot of times you can just introduce it to someone, right? And it may become part of the norm, but understanding the norms help you thrive in a space without changing who you are. Well, remember, we call it authentically adaptive. What's the first impression that you make? A first impression is really making a positive impact in your career. That starts on day one at work. I even want to go a little bit further back, right? It starts in the interview because that's why you got hired. But when you show up outside of the person that you interacted with to interview and that you spoke to about the job, this is what the team gets. And so creating a positive impact through your appearance and punctuality can set the tone for your professional relationships and success in the workplace. Show up on time, right? Make sure that you are proud of your appearance and you're confident in what you're wearing. This is not about looking nice. This is about you being comfortable and confident in what you're wearing. Sometimes we can put things on because we believe we have to, but we're not 100% confident because we're like, that really doesn't match our style. I've experienced that. And so make sure that whatever you put on, you're comfortable and confident. And also, when we think about the time factor, when you get there late or you're trying to just make it, and get you fragile and discombobulated. So give yourself some space and some opportunity to walk in and not have to rush. First impressions are lasting impressions. And so we like to characterize those things in a few ways: your presentation, your packaging, and your presence. Ask yourself these three key questions. What am I wearing, and does it align with the company standards? That's number one. Number two, am I walking in this room confident with a smile on my face, ready to own that task I have been hired for? Like this: cheese. And number three, am I on time? Am I utilizing my time to bring value to the organization? So when you think about these three questions, this is not just about your first day. This is ongoing. How is my presentation, my packaging, and my presence? For any area, at any time you walk in the room, ask yourself, am I aligned? Ask yourself, am I comfortable and confident in what I'm wearing? Ask yourself, am I on time, and am I utilizing my time to bring value to the situation, the organization, or the circumstance? And then we're going to dive into not just communicating with what you're wearing, communicating with showing up on time, but that professional communication. It's always been a common thread throughout this past couple weeks that communication helps with strategy, it helps with connection, it helps build value, it also helps with conflict resolution. And so ensuring that your communication is clear, it's concise, and it fosters understandings and promotes a positive workplace environment. And so, what does effective digital communication look like? Because, sometimes what we say can get lost in an email and they can come off a little standoffish. So, basic email etiquette is keep your messages clear and concise for effective communication. If there's a lot of feelings happening in you while you're writing this text message back because something was said and you don't really understand it, I would hold off for a little bit and give yourself an opportunity to breathe. Like 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, or just pause, right? Just pause. Notice what's happening, notice what the email is saying, and then choose how to respond in an effective way that's not combative. And then, if you still have questions before you email back, I would ask for opportunity to speak face to face to avoid any misconceptions, right, or miscommunication. Virtual meeting best practices: mute when you're not speaking. Come on, y'all, right? Sometimes we'll be on calls and somebody has everything happening in their background, the camera's moving around, it's really loud. Use your video for engagement and connection, unless you absolutely can't, right? Sometimes my internet is unstable, and so I have to take the video off, or I'm in an environment because I'm in the middle of a conference, or I'm working outside, and so I don't want to be on camera at the time because of what's happening behind me. Be sure to put that in the comment area so people understand that you're not just off camera because you don't want to be on camera. You're off camera with a valid reason. And so let's really quickly check out email etiquette. Sample email for your review. The subject is, hey. The body, hey, I wanted to ask you about the schedule for next week. I think I can come in late on Monday, but not sure if that's cool. Also, do we still have that team thing Tuesday? LMK, thanks, sent for my iPhone. So we see some grammar errors in this. And we also see this language that the individual is using is really language that would fit more of a workplace norm that's cool. And so ask yourself when I'm writing emails and I'm clarifying my need or my desire to take time off, it is it in the right tone based on who I'm speaking to and based on the company culture and workplace norms? Does my subject line explain what it is I'm writing about? Because that would help open it up much faster. A hey subject line may tend to be more familiar and friendly and may not speak to something that is urgent. And then also, do we still have that team thing Tuesday, which signals that you're not really up to date on the schedule? And so I think being clear and clarifying and having concise messaging, being sure that there's no grammar mistakes and no acronyms like LMK. The person you're speaking to may not know that that means let me know. And knowing that it was sent from your iPhone, we know that you're on the go. But it's important that when you are sending an email or a text message of any kind, you remember who's receiving it on the other end. So let's review a few questions. Is the subject line appropriate for a workplace email? Number one, first thing I said, is the request clear? Right? Does this email use professional tone and grammar based on your workplace norm? And how could this message be improved before sending? And so I kind of showed you guys, but let's see it on the screen. Subject, schedule clarification in Tuesday meeting. Body, hi, manager's name. I wanted to confirm my schedule for next week. I may need to arrive later than usual on Monday and will follow up if that's the case. Also, are we still scheduled for the team meeting on Tuesday? Thanks in advance. This is more appropriate. It sounds like, you're clear about what you want and you understand what you're talking about. And so just really being sure that when you're sending off emails and when you're thinking about etiquette, that you are, again, clear and concise without grammar mistakes or without any acronyms that the person on the other end may not understand. And so now that we have talked about communication, especially digital communication, how do we navigate conflict as part of our workplace norms? How do we find solutions together, right? And so always approach a conflict with a calm demeanor and seek collaborative solutions for success. A lot of times our way in our mind may be the right way, but working collectively with your team to come up with the solution will ground it in the team being effective together, and you'll build buy-in because it's not just something that you thought up, but something that you worked collectively with the team to achieve. So let's look at these two areas. The first thing to navigating conflict and feedback is to active listening. We talked about active listening. We talked about speaking two languages, not just English, but also body, right? And so listening well, active listening is meaning I'm not just listening to respond. I'm listening because I'm paying attention to what the person is saying. It shows me maturity and consideration for others' perspectives. And sometimes some of us can get so excited we just want to respond. Pace yourself. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, or pause, notice, and choose to give the person an opportunity to provide feedback or to share what they're saying. The second part of now navigating conflict is responding with gratitude, really thanking others for feedback, even though it feels iffy, fostering a positive environment, encouraging growth. I've been on calls and in situations where I received some constructive criticism and I'm like, thank you so much for that feedback. I'm going to take it and apply it, so that I can look towards the next steps I need to take on this specific projects. I appreciate you. And even though it may be tough at times, this is the way that you avoid conflict and that you navigate through it and you are able to get feedback in a way that also shows not only that you listen, but that you have emotional intelligence. So, what is a workplace conflict? It's a disagreement or a misunderstanding that happens when people have different needs, goals, or communication styles. I want to hone in on that last part. When we communicate different, it can cause a conflict. It's not that one is right or the other one is wrong. It's just like you may need more emails and I may need more time in a Zoom room to have a conversation with you. But conflict is normal. How you respond will always show your professionalism. So let's do a scenario challenge. What would you do? You overhear a coworker complaining about how you're never around to help. You've been swamped with your own tasks and didn't know that there was an issue. They didn't communicate it. What's your first reaction? How could you approach the person or situation with professionalism? And what's one thing you can say or ask to clear it up? I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to think about those questions and think about a scenario that you may have been in that you can apply your first reaction to, an approach, right, that maintains professionalism and something that you can say to clear it up. The typical reactions to conflict is competition, right? It's compromise, it's collaboration, it's accommodation, and also avoidance. And so we want to stay away from the problem. We want to compete with the person that we're having a conflict with because I have to be right. Or I'm just going to let them win because I'm choosing my battles and I don't want to keep going. Or you can collaborate and accommodate. But those are typically the areas and the reactions to conflict. And ask yourself when you are face to face in a situation that is conflicting or is causing the conflict, how do you navigate through it? Going back to those three questions that I asked you, and then thinking, do I respond with avoidance? But does that solve anything? Do I want to compete? Do I compromise because it makes sense and I'm choosing my battles truly? Do I decide to collaborate with this person to come up with a solution collectively? Or do I accommodate their needs and we move forward from here? So there's a difference between responding versus reacting. We want you to use Talent Nova's stay calm, stay clear, and stay professional method. Stay calm means listening fully before responding. Stay clear is asking questions to clarify. Use I statements. I noticed, I felt, I'd like to. Right. And so those are really important. And then stay professional. It's the language that you use that's going to make sense. Realizing that you don't have to fix every problem, but you do have to manage yourself and your words. And how you handle conflict shapes your reputation. So when you're building your professional habits that tie into your workplace norms, you're developing consistent habits is really essential for achieving long-term workplace success. A habit is anything that you do repeatedly. It may be something that you do when you come in. It may be how you show up on time, how you respond to conversations. People begin to know you for your habits and your consistency. And so the importance is that you start growing your career from day one by implementing these strategies we've shared with you over these past 7 weeks and today for immediate improvement and long-term success. Is there something that I need to challenge myself in? Is there something I need to adapt? Is there a place I need to pivot? Do I have to begin to identify the workplace norms in the organization that I'm in so I know how to respond? And so we have this habit of formula. It's a formula, it's a former, a habit former formula, me and my alliterations. How do you build habits that stick? By engaging in your mind, your motivation, your actions, and your system. We want you to grab this, screenshot this, y'all. Listen, your element is your head, heart, hand, and how. What does it mean? Your head is what do I know? What knowledge or mindset do I need to make this change, right? Your heart is why do I care? What's my deeper reason for my why, for committing to this? My hands, what will I do? There always has to be an action. What's the daily action or behavior I'll take? Remember, you're forming habits. And what's my how? How will I stick to it? How will I maintain this habit that I'm forming? What tool, time, or trigger will remind me to follow through? So if you're looking to build new habits in the workplace or in your life, use our habit former connected to your head, heart, hand, and how. What do I know? Why do I care? What will I do? And how will I stick to it? Building habits again that stick by engaging your mind, your motivation, your action, and your system will lead you to a place of success. I'm excited about that one, right? So when you have learned all these things and you postured yourself to succeed, you put yourself in a situation for career growth. And by doing that, you have to implement SMART goals. And for some of us, seek mentorships that will enhance your career to development. So what's my next step? Do I need to create new SMART goals to take me from my now to my next? Do I need to seek a mentor because I feel like I reached this law of lid that they talk about in 21 Laws of Irrefutable Leadership, which is a book? Or do I need to develop my career by upskilling myself in an area? These are simple strategies for success. So set a goal, seek a mentor, seek new career development and an upskilling opportunity. But we've given you tons of tools that you can use throughout these 7 weeks. Just going back to the habit formula or using the stay calm, stay clear, stay professional method when navigating conflict. And so, what are some SMART goals for workplace readiness? How do you turn this ambition you have into action with goals that work at work? You are specific, right? Be clear on what you want to do. It's measurable. Decide how you'll track it. It's achievable. Keep it realistic and doable. A lot of times we like to pile a lot of goals on ourselves, and when we don't achieve them, we get disappointed. But you don't have to be that way. Just give yourself a specific goal, and you can start with one WIG, which is an acronym I use for one widely important goal. Make sure it's relevant to where you are and it matches your work goals and it's time bound. Always set a deadline to complete it. If you don't do it, you'll keep going and won't give yourself an endpoint. Some workplace examples is I want to improve my email communication skills. How can I do that? I'll draft and send 5 professional emails this week. I'll ask a peer or coach to review 2 of them for me for feedback. I better communicate helps. Better communication helps me grow in my job. That's really why it's relevant for you to do it. And when will you do it? I'll complete this goal by Friday at 3 p.m. So if effective communication is one of your goals, you can use this entire method here to shape your smart steps, to understand what it means, and to provide some workplace examples. You can also opt in for virtual mentorship session. Talent Nova, provides sessions where you can reach out to us and say that you need to speak to a coach. The purpose is for you to build confidence, career clarity, and insight through conversation, and for someone to help you further along your path. You can opt in for our Nova one-on-one coaching sessions. The purpose is again to build confidence, to have career clarity, and a short coaching session really provides you coaching and personalized insight. We don't offer those frequently. We did for a time, but if you need someone to have a conversation with about your resume, your cover letter, or any of the interviewing skills, or something that you learned in this past week, please reach out to us. We're here for you. And so, how do you start this career plan? I'm happy that you asked. Number one, what's your starting point? It's the kind of job that you're working towards now. Number two, what's my next steps? Is it a promotion, industry change, or new skill I want within 1 year? Remember, we're adding a deadline to it. And how will I get there? Is it going to be through a certification, through mentoring, through performance goals? Or you can just simply ask Coach AI, what certifications do I need to? And you can add your next step to it. You can ask who's already doing the job you want to do. What can you learn from their path? An option, share your plan or share one goal with us at info@talentnova.com. And guess what? Not only are we going to respond, but we can help you navigate through. This week's weekly challenge: implement one strategy to enhance your workplace readiness and success. This week, we want you to focus on implementing a key strategy, reflect on your experiences, and prepare to share valuable insights in our next session where we look back to look forward to foster collective growth. How can I prep for next week? We want you to explore what you learned, heard, and experienced in our official recap. What can you do with what you learned? In this final week that we'll have next week, we'll be focused on really reviewing an opportunity to respond and reflect. We will also be asking questions live about any of the past week's lessons, scenarios, or systems that you experienced. And so understanding this, practice makes perfect in the workplace, especially when it comes to workplace training. Again, another week down. As you all know, because I always start the beginning of the calls to say, I'm Kalila Lokanola, aka KO, your favorite coach. And I'm happy to close out this session on week 7. Look forward to seeing you guys in week 8, where we wrap up our modern workforce training. We look back to look forward and we celebrate what you've done so far. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have an incredible week. Take care, y'all.